Hey, welcome to a Sims 4 speed build video. Uh, I joined Sims 4 pretty late in the game, actually. Back in 2019, when they first did that free trial thing where you could just get the base game for free. That was nice. This is actually a remake of the first thing I ever built in The Sims 4, which, as the title clearly states, was an A-frame house. I don't know, I really like A-frames. There's one on my daily bike route. Looks really nice. I had a heck of a time trying to figure out exactly how many tiles I wanted to use. I don't have Tiny Living, but I wanted this house to be Tiny Living compatible. It's the second size. It's not the smallest, but it's also not like the biggest tiny home. The middle, I guess you could say. I also had a heck of a time with ladders. I don't understand why the indicator for the ladder is on the side that you stick out. Really what it should be is it should be on the outside for the bottom part and on the inside for the inner part, so that way you can see where your Sims are going to be when they're interacting with the ladder. Otherwise you get confusion like mine. And here I am trying to figure out math. I'm not good at it, but I do eventually figure out how much I have. This is exactly 64 tiles, which is great. And then for some reason, as you'll see in a minute, I think this is less than 64 tiles, and we still have tiles we can use. Don't ask me why I got that thought, I couldn't tell you. And here we are, just putting in furniture to fill space for now. I have a gripe with the showers in The Sims 4. There are no mirrored versions of these showers, right? Like, they have tile on 2 of their walls, they have glass on 2 of the other, and that's it. And it can be really annoying to fit them into specific corners, because you'll have, a floating tile wall in your shower. It's like, no, that's not how that works. This build is base game. I think most of my YouTube video builds are going to be Maxis friendly builds, by which I mean they'll be the materials used in that specific pack. So if I say build in Windenburg, that's I'll use, get together stuff. This is just base game content since we're in Willow Creek. Yeah. As you can see, the A-frame, it's nice. It's maybe a little tall. I'm sure the neighbors aren't too happy about it. The vision I had for this is that this is clearly some sort of new development. You see all these other houses nearby, and they're just shotgun shacks and small 2-bedroom houses. Clearly, there was a property on this lot, and it burned down or was demolished for code violations or something. And some plucky young real estate developer was like, hey, we could put a cool modern house here. And they did. And this is the result. Yeah, so here's the door to the back balcony, which is a lovely concept. I adore it very much. Doesn't really fit. Doesn't work. It's not there in... I'll show you, a live video of me touring it. It's not there. All this footage of me trying to figure out columns. And 1, I don't use columns eventually. And 2, that's not even there. Of course, we need a back door. You want multiple exits in case of emergency. And then we have this awful kitchen. I do not like these counters. They're cheap. This is a starter home. It has to be cheap, but there's only so much we can do with that. Big expense for this house was probably the windows and doors. Those are the most expensive windows. But if you look on the internet, the majority of A-frames you'll find are these big open concept glass A-frames, and that's not really comfortable in my opinion. I don't want windows all over my house. It's a little weird. I'm a private person, but thankfully Sims don't really care about privacy. You could literally not put up curtains in that bathroom and Sims will be fine. They'll use it because they're Sims. But I do put curtains up because it would definitely bother me if I was even just playing in here. I would want curtains in that bathroom. So here I am thinking, oh hey, I could save 4 tiles from the balcony and put them in the front, have like a little porch area. Again, this is all not going to be here in the final build, which I'll put up on the gallery. I'll have a link to my username or whatever. However you do that, I'll probably have to go look at an actual simmer YouTuber. Is there a word for it? Is it like SimTuber? That makes sense. We'll go with SimTuber. I'll go look at Little Simsy or James Turner or something and see what they do. That's YouTube personality James Turner, not YouTube personality James Turner. Gets confusing. And here I go back to the balcony. It's a lovely concept. I do love this balcony. I do some nice things with it. This is not a very complicated build, but it's a starter home. It doesn't have to be. I mainly wanted to do this because of all the updates to things like the ladders and bunk beds, although we don't use a bunk bed in this build. That might have been a good idea, but I didn't. This is more or less like a 1 or 2 person house, like a bachelor or bachelorette or a couple, right? You don't have families, you don't have kids. This is not. I would hate to have to deal with those windows with a small child, right? You get handprints everywhere. And here I am trying to mess around with diagonals and angles in general. Don't worry, there's plenty more of that where that came from. And I can't stand things being straight, which is why I put a pride flag up later. Not just because it's Pride Month. Every month is Pride Month, really. And here I realize, oh yeah, I put this table backwards. Maybe we should fix that so that we can actually place things properly. There's not much to say about the actual furnishing itself. They're very basic utilitarian furniture. That's why I went for this sort of modern lo-fi. Would that be the word? Just a very minimalistic build, I guess you could say. And then there's these bath mats, which are huge. I don't know who at the Sims team thinks that bath mats are like the size of 2 showers, but they're not. Crazy. And we go with a nice wood paneling on both the inside and outside of the house, mainly because of the way that roofs work, specifically the upper roof, because it's open from like floor to ceiling, but there's also like the little bits of the upper roof that have wallpaper, so it's like, okay, well I guess you gotta have the same wallpaper inside and out then, and it works, it's fine. Here we actually do some lighting instead of just sticking those like generic ceiling lights. I really hate just using generic lights. I know a lot of Sims players and SimTubers don't like dealing with lighting. I think it's neat. I think a lot of things in The Sims are neat. That's why I play The Sims. But you'll see, I spent a lot of time trying to find a nice like industrial style lamp. Just a good fluorescent tube lamp would be really good, like a ceiling mounted one, but we don't have that. We have a wall mounted one, which I almost put in the bathroom. Just like normal fluorescent lights would be really good in that kitchen, and we don't have those. At least not in base game. I'm sure they're in one of the many packs I have. I have every major expansion pack and a couple of the minor ones. And I'll probably do an actual like playthrough at some point. The concept I have for like these build videos is I just want to fill up the default vanilla, like ready to play Maxis worlds, right? Like I don't want to invent or reinvent any of the worlds. I just want to add things that look like they fit in, which is why I built this monstrosity for my first build. I know. But, I mean, come on, I had to. It was my first ever build. How could I not? Especially now that we have ladders. Ladders are so great. I'm really excited to see what sorts of mischief I can get up to. You could make a little treehouse or a playhouse in your backyard for the kids. Like, that's neat. Of course, I don't really play The Sims with kids all that much. It's usually just me and like a raccoon and like my hundreds of gnomes. So yeah, I went with white and blue mainly because you can't change the colors of ceilings So we're going to have white trim and stuff just to match the ceiling. It works. This is a very blue house, though. Of course, that nice, comfortable, queen-size sleeping bed does not have a good color swatch, so we switched to the uncomfortable one. The worst, double bed in the game, but it looks nice, and that's the important part here. The way I think of furnishing these houses when you're not in, live mode and have a family and, a history, there's not a lot of personality. You're designing, interior furnishings like a home seller, right? It's like real estate. You just want to make it look like it's a concept of how people would live in this space, as opposed to here's an actual person living in this space. Here's all their family photos. Here's the laundry they leave by their bed. It's nothing like that. You save that for live mode, I think. There's a nice outdoor seating thing. I don't remember what those are called, but it's nice, and I wouldn't mind having one in real life. Again, with those stupid columns. Now, this looks really dangerous with no railing, because it is. I wanted to do half walls, but I couldn't figure it out while I was recording. I did eventually figure it out. I did a little bit of stuff off camera, which is why we're going to do a tour, and also tour the original A-frame that I built. But I did finally get half walls to work, so there's a little bit of privacy up there. You can't see to the loft from the first floor or from the street or anything, so it's fine. Of course, I spent entirely too long trying to fit a plant in this corner. Why? Who knows? I think it's the only plant in the house, too. I couldn't find any other good ones. There's no real good floor plants in Vanilla Sims 4. Of course, you can see how awful these counters are. There's no good color swatches, so I wind up moving to the second cheapest set. No, the third cheapest, excuse me. There's the, culinary career set. And I did test that coffee pot out. It works. That coffee pot totally works. It's fine. I don't like to use cheats like move objects or anything. I try to just play the game. And here we are lining up the house to both neighbors, front and side, just to make it fit in just a little bit more. It's not great, but it doesn't have to be great. It just has to be passable. Of course, here we are fiddling with the foundation, but I can't add foundation to under the roofs because that would add more tiles, and we only have 64 tiles. As it stands, between the main floor and the loft is exactly 64 tiles. It's really nice, actually. So I wind up getting rid of that step, which means this is flush with the ground, which sounds awful. As someone who lives in Florida, that is not a place you want to be. That's a good way to get ants in your house. White trim to go with all the other white. You can see, just from the outside, the undersides of any roof in this game is white. All the updates of quality of life stuff, they still haven't done that. I don't know why. Here we are trying to match the roof to the neighbors, and I think I did a decent job. I'm pretty sure that's the one they used. I think it just looks weird at the top because this is a much steeper roof. And I didn't really do a lot of skill stuff. I put an easel in here eventually, off camera, but I mainly just figured, there's gardens across the street. We could put a little garden in the backyard. If there's even a delineation between a front and backyard in this property. And there are the curtains. They're very nice, modern curtains, and they look really nice from the outside. Maybe a little yellow. Could be the lighting. There's a lot of weird lighting. Those lights up on the loft, those put out a lot of yellow light. That's the whitest stair ladder, and it still looks like that. And here you can see me trying to remember how to play The Sims 4 after spending a year and a half away. It's not working out well. Yeah, no, I go back to just the rails for now. But yeah, no, this was a fun process. Actually doing this on camera, trying to not, look like a total idiot, which I think I largely succeeded at. I'm not going to pretend to be, an expert. I guess, what is it? A guru? No, that's the developers. The developers are the gurus. What do you call someone who's good at The Sims? And here you see me with my attention to detail with just making everything crooked, which I'm sure upsets a lot of people, but that's how things work in real life. You don't pull out like a level and a right angle measurer for every bit of furniture. You just try and push it against the wall and see if it's like angled the right way. And you can tell this is like a poor person lives here because almost all the furniture is against the wall. I can say that. I am a poor person. Also, what is this? When did we get a free hot tub? I thought hot tubs were only in like that one furniture pack. That's cool. But yeah, I went with like the large garden plot because it was the cheapest in terms of space, oddly enough. I stick a garden hose back there. It looks nice. It's a very minimalistic house for a decently large property. The original A-frame is on the property to the left of us right now. Don't remember the name of it. And here I am trying to figure out if we can put Baby Yoda somewhere. We can't. There's just not room. Like, there's a lot of empty floor space. I could have even made this smaller, I think, but I won't. Here we are trying to get the mailbox as close to the street as possible because you can't just put it next to the sidewalk. You know, that would be too crazy. And yeah, there's the pride flag, just the normal one. I didn't like if it was a place my self-sim was living in, sure, I'd put an ace pride flag, but it's not. So we'll just go with like a nice, yeah. And then I put these things. I see these a lot out and about here in Florida. I don't know what sort of weird cult people are in, but they look nice. I wouldn't mind having one. And then I decide to maybe put some privacy curtains on the top. And presumably, if this wasn't The Sims, like, those would extend all the way to the door and you could just push them out of the way or whatever. But it is The Sims, so what are you going to do? Of course, about here is the time when I realized, hey, I should maybe do some, like, landscaping. I love these willows. I love a good willow, especially when they're reaching over the water. This is Willow Creek, after all. We have a creek, we have a willow. And originally, I try and match the neighbors to, like, their sort of overgrown flower bed with, like, grass and different types of flowering plants, but eventually, I decide that that's not really a good look for this house, because I look across the street and say, hey, that one's, like, clean shaven. Is that a word you use for landscaping? I don't think it is. Anyway, like, I just put some, like, bushes in front of the house, and that's it. The side's a little barren, especially since that's the side that you see if you look at it from the gallery. So it doesn't look great. Not a great first impression on the gallery. But, you know, what are you going to do? I don't know why. Like, even the default, like, mailbox, I think, starts facing the side street like every other house on this neighborhood. I don't know why they decided, no, it needs to face the main street. Who puts their house facing main streets, right? Like, that's like an avenue of traffic. You don't want to be stepping out onto that. Spent a long time trying to figure out what the big trees in everyone else's yards are. They're oaks. I don't know why it took me forever to find them. I decided not to use them, though. I think having 2 big trees in this yard is a little much, especially price-wise. I think when everything's said and done, we wind up with $50 of budget after moving in. So it's a good thing that the Sims story thing doesn't go lower than standard budget. I thought it would, but apparently it doesn't. You'd think there'd be like a destitute thing where you only start out with like 10 or 5,000 simoleons, but no. And I don't even remember what I'm doing now. Oh, now I'm trying to fit a grill. If there is a thing, such a thing as gilding a lily, I think trying to fit a grill on your tiny, like, 8-tile balcony patio is, yeah, that's definitely too much. And here's a nice tip for you. Landscaping, like, in terms of changing the terrain, that's free. You could elevate it, you could change the texture of it, you could add a pathway. Like, you don't need a lot of money to make your builds look decent, right? So, And if you are in cheats, there's always like going into the debug menu and pulling out debug trees and stuff. But I'm not really feeling that. The one thing I will say as a tip to anyone who's actually looking for information on how to make your Sims builds better on this like video that's going to get 10 views, I really like going in with a light touch. Like, go with the softest brush imaginable and just going over it until you're happy with it. Feather it. Really, if you think about it, like, humans are not... Well, I mean, humans are, but man-made structures aren't part of the natural order, right? Like, buildings, man-made objects, like, you see those out in the wild, and, they've been abandoned for a couple years, and nature's trying to reclaim them. It's the same sort of thing as, like, a wound. Like, this is a foreign object that has been inserted into a natural body, and that body will resist it to an extent. Like, this is the sort of inflammation you'd see on an injury, right? Maybe not the best way to think about landscaping, but it's how I thought about it. And here I am trying to figure out if I can fit a spatula, like a nice kitchen set. Of course, you need toilet paper. After 2020, we definitely need toilet paper in every household. I decide that rug is not great. Eventually decide to use the same rug as in the kitchen, just a different color. Which, I mean, I've literally had matching kitchen and bathroom mats, so it works. It happens. I don't know if that's gaudy or weird, but I've done it. And now's about the point where I realize that we're missing a couple of very important things, namely a dresser. Yeah, that's I don't think you can you dress Sims off of mirrors? I don't remember. You probably need a dresser, which is why we end up sticking with this big modern one, but we stick it upstairs because we need space for a dining set. Because yeah, like, we could eat on the couch. Yes, we could sit on the couch and eat. Like, I literally eat in front of my computer most nights, but come on, you need a dining set. Even if you're just going to have your cat sleeping on it 90% of the time. I almost went with that first really cheap children's dresser, but it's got unicorns on the side, and I don't like unicorns. I don't like horses in general. Horses are creepy. They're very dangerous animals. They'll eat, like, baby chickens and stuff. Like, if you're a horse girl, don't. First off, and maybe go watch a couple videos of horses, like, kicking people to death or eating baby chickens, and you can be cured of your horse girlness. That's mean. I shouldn't have said that. Horses are dangerous animals, and you should respect them. Here I am trying to figure out what to put on that desk, because there's a big empty spot. And, plants don't really fit. I mean, some of the smaller ones do, but I didn't really like them. I wanted just, like, some clutter objects, but most of the clutter objects wouldn't fit at all. And eventually I decided on a toy of all things, just a little cat toy, and it can fit in a lot of places, including the counter where nothing else will fit. And I guess that's because it's interactive, which I don't get why you can't just put other things in those sorts of spots. It'd be nice to just put, like, the spatula set behind the coffee pot along with, like, the paper towels. Like, that's where you'd put those. I don't think you can... Can you prepare meals on a diagonal counter? I need to look that up. That's definitely information I could do with. Also, I really don't like how the shadows don't move when when you shrink it. But yeah, I had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what I was going to put there. And I'm like, oh, a wicker basket, that works. There's vanilla wicker baskets, even though it's not part of laundry day. And then I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, no. You big stupid idiot, you forgot a dining set. So I went with a very, like, rugged, almost reclaimed wood outdoor furniture set. I tried to get cute with the angle of it, just like the sofa, and eventually I decided, no, it's fine, just stick it in the middle, let it fill up space, it'll look fine. And it does look fine. Could have maybe put a rug under it, but I don't know. There's already, like, the interaction between the tile and the wood, so maybe just leave it. And is that it? Yeah, no, that's it. give it the name as your A-frame 2.0, and we choose a single lot trait. I try not to overdo these, but I think it needs at least one, and I eventually decided on natural light after I looked up what the vanilla ones are. I mean, if you look at this house gets a lot of natural lighting. And here we are in Willow Creek. You can see the new A-frame on the right and the old one on the left. Surprisingly, it's a lot cheaper than the new one. I guess it really is all in those windows. Let's take a look at it. I haven't seen this since, like, the past year and a half. It's probably really bad. Okay, yeah, no. Tile. Makes sense. It almost matches. I'd use these all the way around the front. I don't know why. They look nice, but I don't think they really fit any of the neighborhood plants, no. We've got a nice chair outside, some plants, a lot of brown. It's not just white and blue, it's white, blue, and brown, which that's fine. A tricolor scheme is acceptable. I mean, look at most flags. And if we go down, oh, same couch, huh? Some things never change. Yeah, this is definitely a bachelor pad with, like, a TV on top of a wooden crate. And you can see stairs take up a lot of real estate. It's a good thing I don't have to worry about that anymore. I love tiny homes. I need to get the tiny home expansion, and having ladders is really great too. Yeah, don't like this set. I'm glad I changed that out. That's a weird light. Why did I use that everywhere? Strange. I do suddenly remember this turtle, like the little pool decoration. I kind of missed that I didn't put him in the new one. I don't think I have enough simoleons to put him in the new one. Oh well. It's also a lot wider. I think I went with 2... Yeah. It's 2 tiles wide per level. There's a word for that. I don't do math. Ratio. It's the ratio of, like, the slope. Geometry. And here we are. It's playable. Like, when you're on the bottom floor, the roof doesn't get in the way. Up here, maybe a little bit. But yeah, no, it's definitely a lot more space efficient with a ladder. Also, I had to add a little gnome. You may or may not know I have a thing about gnomes. And so, without the balcony, I had to figure out where else to put the furniture that was on the balcony. So, the, what you got, like a lounge chair is over here now. And the nice thing about that is that between this oak tree and this willow tree, it's like constantly shaded, which is maybe not the purpose. I think you're supposed to sun in those mostly, but I'm not a sun type person. Also, there's the little garden hose I put back here. Just the little things, little touches. There's the flower pot, and that's about it, really. So yeah, here's my origin ID, TyeZenneth. That's Zenith with 2 E's, 2 N's, and no I's, because I was once a 13-year-old kid who wanted to play RuneScape and didn't know how to spell Zenith. I don't have a lot on here, only like 6 builds, including the new one. But if you want to see my old builds, which you probably don't, they're not good. And if you want to see any new builds I do, which you probably do, I got some cool ideas coming up. Maybe stay tuned. Catch you later.